Welcome, nutritionradio.org listeners. This is Lonnie Lowry, a university nutrition professor of over 20 years and podcast host of long-running shows like Iron Radio. Come on in. Monday Market News from the food world.
Hey, everybody. Today we've got part one of a mini-series that I guess we'll call Coffee Watch. What we're going to do is actually ask Mike Nelson, who a lot of you are familiar with, co-host of Iron Radio, all over the place in the fitness and nutrition world. We're going to ask him 3 questions about his coffee preferences, and then we're going to see if the coffee trends and the research from groups like Mintel, market research firms, do they kind of peg Mike as, a Gen Z type person, a millennial, an old fart? Where do they put his answers? So he doesn't know what we're going to say about some of this stuff as far as the market research. We'll get to that, and that's really the news piece. But just for fun, let's ask Mike. This was done on site at the ISSN meeting down in Florida. Enjoy. The first question is your preference as far as ready-to-drink coffee or brewed coffee?
Definitely brewed.
And how would you brew it?
My preference is at home espresso, but at home I generally go with French press.
Okay. The second question, and again, we're just going to do this sort of quick fire, is flavors. Do you like flavors in your coffee, and if so, what?
Generally, I don't use any flavors, although recently we've been making a little bit more flavor coffee on occasion. I'll put some collagen in, shout out to Bub's Collagen, some MCT oil, a little bit of sweetener, and then sometimes if I'm in a real big hurry and I know I'm not going to eat for a while, I'll put in some protein powder into it and blend that up like a mocha latte type coffee. And lately I've been using the protein powder from Driven Nutrition. They have a vanilla ISO cupcake flavor. And I'll blend all that together, and it's pretty damn tasty. It's definitely on the sweeter side. I don't make it all the time, but it's pretty damn good.
Are there times when you want to go just the taste of black coffee?
Yeah, I still probably make black coffee most of the time.
Okay. You know what? A lot of listeners, I need to point you to a couple of podcasts about how good black coffee can be if you're making it right. I mean, the lipid content and other things that are involved make it so good that some people say you don't even need sweetener, you don't even need creamer. But, maybe they're pushing that just a little bit because you want it to taste really good. You have to really love those coffee notes of different kinds. But the last question here is, and you kind of partly answered this, is what about functional additives in coffee? So you said, collagen, stuff like that. Do you have a wish list, like what you would want to put in coffee or maybe buy a product that had it in there?
Yeah, with that, I'm usually thinking what are compounds from a neurologic standpoint that would pair well with caffeine. So on that list, I would put probably some type of choline, CDP choline or acetylcholine would probably be at the top of the list. It's also relatively heat stable. It's soluble in water, all that kind of stuff. That would probably be my go-to. Again, if you're in the athletic world, you could potentially go with alpha GPC. There's mixed data on that, more data on CDP, but that's probably where I would start. Protein potentially, depending on what I'm doing or what it's like pre-workout or after or morning, I guess. But if I had to pick one, I go CDP choline. You could also, maybe if you want to go more of the functional lifter route, you could add creatine in there also. But the creatine will be stable for a while unless I'm taking hours to drink my coffee. Generally, because a liquid is warmer, it will dissolve a little bit better, so you don't have to worry about it kind of accumulating as much at the bottom. Some people say it does affect the taste a little bit. I'm kind of mixed on that. Most of the time, I don't really put it in. I just go with black coffee.
Okay, there it is. So now we're going to turn and look at the news clip here about the market trends. What do the data say? And, we'll see how Mike sort of lines up with what they do say based on age group and trends moving forward. Specifically, one of the things to really focus on is the ready-to-drink versus brewed coffee. Fewer people brew coffee in whatever method, right? Paper filter, French press, whatever, than they did when I was a kid. I've had students who would walk up to a coffee machine that wasn't a pod style, Keurig type thing, and turn around and look at me with questioning eyes like, what do I do with this? So I feel like, time for life skill 101. Here's how you make a pot of coffee. But I get it. Most people don't do it that way anymore. But in any case, let's take a look at this here. What's next in RTD Coffee by Rachel Arthur. This is from Beverage Daily. I'm going to make 5 points based on this here. And again, this is for you coffee fanatics out there. 1, Gen Z consumers are more likely to drink RTD, right? Ready to drink, like canned coffee, if you will. I guess, Tetra Pak or other things too, glass bottles, but ready to drink than hot coffee based on Mintel research. Number 2, the piece goes on to say that RTD coffee, the category, is in a sweet spot for 3 reasons. 1, energy, so sort of a claims perspective. And in fact, when I was just in Florida at the ISSN meeting, there was a talk on the dietary supplement industry as a whole, and energy is still a huge, topic there. Energy drinks, pre-workouts, people like their stims, their stimulants. Number 2, convenience. Presumably, I'm thinking that means no brewing on the go. And then taste. And it is true, some of these RTD coffees, they taste pretty good. They don't taste like yucky, aluminum or something like that. So energy, convenience, and taste, that's kind of the reason for this, sweet spot. And we'll talk about why it's sweet, how it's sweet in the business world. 3, this is not just because of some entrepreneurial fun with, new brands coming out. This is a kind of an entrenched thing that moving forward. But I will say I've seen some pretty crazy flavors being suggested. Coffee peanut butter, salted caramel, white chocolate raspberry, even coffee lemonade. I'm sorry, but I'm a purist. Don't make my coffee into a lemonade. But still, I get the idea. I do like this idea, though. 77% apparently say that limited edition flavors are appealing to them. So maybe small batch or limited edition. I can see how that might have its appeal. What else is trending, or at least related to this RTD article? Non-coffee bean, quote-unquote, coffees that are related to things like purple yam, barley, chicory. Now, chicory coffee's been around for a long time. I've actually made coffee with chicory before. Add very little if you're going to try this. Presumably, it would put some soluble fiber, some inulin-type fiber in your cup, but very, very, very strong. You have to add very little of that. But they used to use that back during the war, as I hear, to stretch out coffee so they could keep the coffee beans with the caffeine for the troops. In any case, chicory, lentil and chickpeas, dates. Now, I don't think it was in this article, but also a variety of mushrooms. And the coffee does not taste like mushrooms, or at least when it's coffee with mushroom in it. I tried a brand called Four Sigmatic. It comes in little packs that look like tea bags from the outside, but inside it's just a little sachet. It's just coffee powder. I like it. They make claims for cognition, and you will find some cognition type evidence in the literature. But also turmeric, collagen. Mike mentioned that. Just protein, higher quality proteins. This trend seems to be recession-proof as well. My final point 5, recession-proof. Whether it's functional ingredients, these unusual flavors, the ready-to-drink thing in general, probably recession-proof, and not just because of this piece. There was a piece from World Coffee Portal back in January of this year saying the same thing is happening in the UK. I'm not surprised by this. It's the little tiny bit of luxury that people can hold on to. They might be pinching and, tightening their belts on so many things, but darn it, they're going to have their coffee. And they want good coffee. Sometimes it's just black coffee. Although it sounds like millennials like those RTDs with flavors and exploring, some weirder stuff. How did Mike fit into all that? Well, he does put a lot of these functional ingredients in. He does like his black coffee at times, but also flavors. He did say he prefers brew over like a can, right? Or RTD, a Tetra Pak, a glass bottle, whatever it might be. So in that way, he's a little more old school. But that's going to be it for us today. Remember, the season 2 of Nutrition Radio is going to go to a longer format. We might take a little pause as we move in that direction, but we're also going to make real strides to revamp Iron Radio. Maybe not just a simulcast occasionally here on Nutrition Radio, but maybe a little bit more. So stay tuned to this channel for information on that, and also look for an email. We've built a reasonable mailing list over the years, and we might just send out something to all of you guys that have been hardcore listeners for a long time and say, hey, here's what we're doing. We just want you to know. If you want to contact me about it, probably the easiest way is lawnman7@hotmail.com, and let me know. Let me know what you're thinking. Okay, but we are done for today, and we're going to see you later.
The NutritionRadio.org podcast is for informational purposes only. If you're interested in starting a diet or exercise program, check with your physician, nutritionist, or qualified exercise physiologist in order to make the progress that you need.